All right. Um, bear with me a moment here. I just want to check and make sure everything is working okay. Also going to drop a fresh link in the chat down below. So tonight, I was supposed to be having a brother on here. Goes by the name of Awaken Pennsylvanian. All right, the brother should be here maybe about 15 minutes. Brother might be running a little bit behind. But that's cool. That's all right. So I push the stream back for 10 minutes or so just so I can get everything set up. The topic I am going to be discussing tonight is the myth of adolescence. Okay. I will of course change the title when the video is completed to go along with whatever else we speak about here. Oh, okay. Awaken Pennsylvanians here. Let me just drop a link in the chat for you, Awaken Pennsylvanian, and we'll bring you right on to the show. Which I thought I put a link in there. I guess it didn't register. I remember Mind God was having a issue with that as well. It's like, okay, there's a link in the chat right now. I just put the link in the chat just a moment ago. Yeah, I see it there. So Awaken Pennsylvania, you can click that and I'll bring you on. But I was gonna say that it's like, damn, man, I can tell when I was coming out, and I see you in the backstage, Awaken Pennsylvania, and I'll bring you on to just 1 minute. But I was gonna say that, you know, it's getting cold out here now, man. Right now it's starting to get pretty damn cold. Okay, so it's like, damn, I should have grabbed a damn jacket or something. Anyway, hey, what's going on, Awaken Pennsylvania? How you doing, man?
Hey, end times teacher, how are you, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing all right.
Yeah, that's the best. That's all we can do right now. So,
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. But anyway, man, I'll let you, do the talking, first, because I know you know more about me than the subject that we want to, speak about here. I made sure to put the book, right, Teen 2.0. I put that on the thumbnail of the video, for us, because I want to read a comment real quick. LOP put up a comment and said, "I wish I was a teenager again. I'm so old now, 32."
yeah, man, I'm catching up there with you, man. I'm 29, so
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hell, ETT is only 19.
oh damn.
And here,
Okay,
you know what? Here's a little thing. Let's even start off with this, man. You know what I don't understand is how is it that they'll say that people who are, 13 to 18, those are kids, right? Those are teenagers, they call them. But then if you're 18 or 19, you're an adult. It's like, well, wait, how could they be adults if they have the word teen in the number of their age? And if you look up the reason why we call teens is because it says that they have the word teen in the number of their age. So it's like, well, wait a second. How are 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds adults and not teens if they have the word in their name? You ask that and nobody ever thought about that before. You know what I'm saying?
oh my God, yeah, I can't believe you brought that topic up. I was with a coworker of mine, and he was like, we were talking about like cigarettes, and I asked him, did you start smoking when you were like a teenager? And he was like, no, I started smoking at 18. And I'm like, what? I'm like, 18 is a teenager. I mean, it's crazy. Like people think like 18's like 20 or something. It's like in the it's like in the 20s category. But it's like 18 and 19 is still a teenager. And it's funny because you'll see it like on these news articles, like, oh, this guy, or like example, I saw this like R. Kelly, like when they're doing that thing about R. Kelly, is like he
Right.
likes teenage. He said he likes teenage girls, and I'm like, yeah, that's weird because 18 and 19 is also teenage is considered a teenager. So I mean that could mean anything, and see that's how the system like really screws you up. and that's how just wicked they are, because they'll say like, oh, liking teenagers aren't kids, but I mean, teenagers are kids, but then they'll have 18 and 19-year-olds as adults. So they're essentially saying that teenagers are adults. They're just saying that the last 2 years of their adults. So they got it halfway right. But see, that's how they mock you with that stuff.
Right,
And
right,
it's,
absolutely, man. Absolutely. But I had to bring that point up because it's like, again, I'll say it again. If you look up online, the question of, well, why do we call, teenagers teens? Why do we call them that? And it will tell you that the reason why is because the number of their age has the word teen in it. So I say, well, wait a second. How are 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds, how are they adults and not teens, right? How do we consider them to be adults if they have the word teen in their age? You ask that, and nobody ever thought about that. It doesn't make any sense. You know what
yeah, I
I'm
mean,
saying?
people just get this block, and because people are so programmed to believe, with the news and the TV shows. They're conditioned to believe that through the indoctrination. And it's crazy because, like, for an example, you could be, like, people will say, oh my god, that guy finds that 17-year-old attractive. But they'll but the funny thing is like an 18-year-old looks no different from a 17-year-old or 16-year-old. Like an 18-year-old still looks like a high school student. Like I don't like like 18-year-olds just don't change in appearances. They don't change like bone structures to look older. Like that's why they still get carded. In fact, girls from the age of like 14 to like 24 in that range look the same. Like you really can't tell. Like there's some girls that are in their 20s that look underage, and there's some girls that are so-called underage that look older.
Right, right. Let me add something in there. Let me add something in there. This is right that you cannot know how old a person is by just looking at them. You can't know. And I'll give an example for myself, right? I am, 19, but the other day I went for a walk, right? And the guy stopped me and was like, "Hey man, I don't have my card on you, on me. Can you go in and buy me a drink, Rick? Can you go buy me, a pack of drinks?" And I told the guy, "Hey, look, man, I would, but I'm under 21." And the guy was like, "What? You're under 21? I mean, you look
Mm-hmm.
like you're in your mid 20s." So you see, um, you cannot tell how old a person is by looking at them. Okay, so this is why, you know, to put a age on, say, age of consent, that all of that's against the scriptures, right? That's all against the scriptures and against human biology. I'll give an example. Nobody would
Mm-hmm.
say that, well, let's put a age number on, well, if you're under 2 years old, that means that you can't use the restroom. It's like, well, how the hell does that make any sense? But then these people, the only proof that they have to support these statements is they'll say, well, that's the law. It's like, okay, then. So what if I declare it's a law that unicorns exist? By what type of logic could you then not agree? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. It's just crazy because they like, and a lot of times people too, they'll use like when they're debating with you, they'll use their argument and their logic and their comeback will be the confinement of already what's the law. So it's like, I think 13 to 17 is too young. It's like, gee, why do you think that? Because you live in America. So obviously the age is 18. It's funny how they go, like, they don't think of an age of like themselves. So like, they don't go, well, I think like 16 is anything under 16. You know what I'm saying? Like they just use strictly like what the law made up. Like they'll go, that's what their logic. It's like, so why, gee, what do you think 18 realistically, or you think 18 because that's what you're brought up to believe? You know what I'm saying? Like
Right. Yeah,
they're
yeah.
come.
Which real quick, just to add to what you're saying, this whole 18 thing, if you do the research on it, to my understanding, when this all came about, it was around the time of the First World War, they needed, people to add to army. So they put it to the age of 21, right, to draft people into the war. But then they dropped it down to 18 so they could get more people to, get into their ranks. So they pretty much just stayed with that number. So the point is, it's not something that's biological that has to do with human biology, but it's rather what somebody made up. But then it's funny because what they'll do is they'll use something that's made up, like the law. All the law is simply a group of people came together and they made something up. So what they're doing is using something that is made up and false in order to prove their statements. And it's like I asked these questions. I don't know if you saw the video when I went on with the Deacon Sakari. I don't know if you saw that, but I was having a debate with them on this matter. And they were like, they were going along with, the American doctrine, right? Like, oh, which they say that, you can't lay with a woman until she's 20 years old. So I mean, hell, I don't know where the hell they got that from. But then when you ask these guys that, they're just coming from that American, standpoint. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's really a like it seems to be like, as I said, it seems to be like a Anglo cultured. It seems to be like a problem in like Anglo cultured English speaking countries like Canada, obviously the United States, the UK, New Zealand, Australia. It seems to be like an English, like a real problem. And like, as I said, those Anglo, it must be like that Protestant, she's a witch kind of culture, that mobbing. I mean,
Right.
it's basically like, especially for guys, it's basically the new witch hunt. It's like back then they went, she's a witch. Now for men, it's like, he's a P word. You know what I mean? So,
Right. Right. And
but
it's
yeah,
like it's go ahead.
yeah, and it's crazy because there was actually this article, and a lot of these findings and stuff. It's funny because you got to really like search for and these are actual findings and studies done, and you really got to you got to really search for it and look for it because they don't have this stuff out in the open. You got to really do your homework on this subject. And that's the problem because no one wants to do it. They just take everything face value and stuff. And again, I'm not promoting anyone going out there and screwing around and doing all that stuff. And I'm not saying to go out there and violate any laws. Um, don't go out there and stick to your legal laws and all that stuff. I'm not saying to
Right,
do any
right.
of
Let
that
me
stuff.
real quick. Let me also give that disclaimer. We're just on here, discussing the truth, right? We're not out here advocating anybody to go around and violate any laws in the state or country that they reside in, right? We're just simply pointing out the facts, right? We're just mentioning what the scriptures say. So if
Yeah,
anybody goes out there and gets in trouble for doing this, well, that's on you because ETT and Awaken Pennsylvania, none of us advocated anybody to go around doing this. Okay, so we just want to put that disclaimer out there, beforehand. Anyway, I'll throw it back to you, AP.
yeah, exactly. It's like I like like if like everyone thinks weed's bad and and it's dangerous, and it's like me saying, well, I'm have all these studies and stuff, and I say I think people should do it. I don't think people should be locked up or anything. So since I said that, I think you should just pull out a bag of weed and light up a joint in front of a cop. It's pretty much like, I mean, no, obviously, don't do anything dumb and break any laws, but yeah, anyway. But yeah, man, I mean, it's crazy because I saw this like 1885 article, and around that time it was, and you mentioned this too of like when the public school indoctrination or the aka the public schools started coming to fruition around like the early 1900s. That's when, weirdly enough, like around the late 1800s, early 1900s, they start raising the age of consent. And a lot of it had to do with really not on a moral basis or a biological basis. It had to do with more of controlling the youth and creating a new generation of brainwashed drones that they could mold into their ideologies and beliefs for the upcoming industrial revolution and work in the factories and have drones. It had nothing to do with morality, or people have just been it just changed to that because that's what the media and the narrative wanted you to believe, but it goes deeper than that. So
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'll give an example, right? These guys will say that, humanity has existed for, 300,000 years. is what they're teaching. But here's the
Mm-hmm.
thing: it's like with this stage of life that we call adolescence today, it was only discovered in the early 1900s. So wait a second. So if humanity existed for 300,000 years, that literally means for quite literally 100% of human history, this belief was not in existence. So how could they go around saying this is a biological fact that every human being has to go through this stage? Well, wait a second. Nobody knew about this for 100% of human history. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't make any sense on just a logical, standpoint. But then when you come from, the scriptures, I asked the Zachariah this question. I asked him, well, why does if these are kids, right? Why did God give kids feelings, sexual feelings, if He did not intend for these people to engage in these feelings? And then they were just like, well, that's not a logical question to ask.
Well, here's another thing too. Like I said that to people too, and people I'll say like, why did God give them quote unquote teenagers the capabilities of reproduction? And they'll go, well, I don't believe in God. I said, okay, well, I can answer that in another question. Why did nature give teenagers, you know, they gave them reproduction organs to create life? Why would nature and evolution give those capabilities to somebody that wasn't mentally capable of doing it? That wouldn't make sense for nature or its evolution. Nature wants to keep replicating itself, and nature wants to keep the genes going for as long as possible. So why would then nature give teenagers reproduction if they were mentally incapable or incompetent of doing that? And no one can answer that question.
Right, right. And here's another thing, going back to what we're saying about the age of consent, here's the little contradiction. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, wait a second. In some places, the age of consent is 11 years old. In other places, it's as high as 21 years old. So the real question is, well, which one of those is correct and which one of those are wrong? All of them can't be correct at the same time. And for these guys out here, like these religious guys, they say, well, we follow whatever the law of the land says. It's like, okay, but what if the law of the land says that it's 9 years old then? So how could they go against that? So you see, guys are just a bunch of, hypocrites. Okay. And this is even in the scriptures. I believe that's was it Matthew 5:18? It says, what, these people, they honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain did they worship me, teaching the doctrine and the laws of men. I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it's crazy because, and if you really think about it, like at 18, you're so-called an adult, but you can't even buy cigarettes now. You used to be able to buy tobacco products. Now you can't even do that because they changed the law. But now at 18, you're an adult, but you can't buy cigarettes and you can't buy alcohol. So, I mean, but you can get yourself into debt. You can go, hell, heck, you can't even be an over the road truck driver at 18. I mean, you could drive within the state, but you can't drive over the road, which is stupid. But you can go like thousands of miles to a foreign land and kill people, but you can't do any of those things. I thought when you're an adult, you can do, all those things. It's just so stupid, and people just don't get it. They just don't realize it, and it's crazy. And there's even people that call they still even call 18 to 20, like 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds up to 21. Hell, some people think 24-year-olds are still children. I mean, the people have been in America, especially, they've been pushing. They're like infiltrating the kids. I mean, the people, and it seems like they're pushing the age up more and more. Like, soon, what, 30 is going to be like adolescence is up to 30 now. I mean, and then you
Right,
wonder
right.
what,
And,
and then you wonder
yeah,
what.
man, I was just to add, onto that, man, yeah, Robert Epstein, mentioned in his book Teen 2.0, which we'll get into that in a couple minutes. But when he was closing the book out, he was even mentioning that, yeah, definitely, things are moving in the wrong direction, how this, the society is going. Everything is going in the wrong direction. But you see, that's the plan. And this is even in the scriptures. If you go to, what is that, Revelation, the 17th chapter? I believe it's the second verse. It says what? That the inhabitants of the earth, they were all made drunk off of the wine of her fornication. Right. So America, Babylon the Great, has deceived the minds of the people of the world to believe in these philosophies. I'll give an example. Right, women's liberation, right, the adolescence, that those all came from America, but then the whole world followed that doctrine, right? So
Mm-hmm.
all these people, all of their minds have been diluted. All the people have been made drunk off of the philosophy of America. You know what I'm saying? I'll throw it back
Yep.
to you.
Oh, LP commented, you can buy cigarettes at the age of 15 in England. Well, that was actually, it was 16, and that was true up till like 2007, and then I guess America got a hold of them, and now it's 18. So it
Oh,
used
let
to
me
be
say
six.
this. I have a friend in I have a friend over in the United Kingdom. And
Mm-hmm.
over there, he said that at 16 you could still buy cigarettes, but that was a
Well,
couple years back, so I'm not sure if they changed that or whatever.
I read somewhere in 2000s you could buy cigarettes up to 16 up till 2007, and then they raised it to 18.
Yeah,
So
each of those could be true. I would have to look back into that,
well, it's
but it
crazy
just
too.
shows the hypocrisy.
Well, it's crazy because like, and people, when you bring like the myth of adolescence, people think that you want to like do like stuff like, how people, simple people are, they think that, oh, you just want to go after them and stuff like that. And and the funny thing is, people just make it all about like, you just want to sleep with them, and you just want to do all that kind of crap to them. Like, no, it's not. I remember being a teenager, and it like, I wanted to like move out of my house and do all those things, and they treated you like a kid, and it's like, that's why teenagers do rebellious stuff. But what do? Gee, what's the solution to that? Oh, treat them more like children. And it's like madness. And it's like, it's like and there was even like proven tests done that with teenagers, that teenagers scored about the same score on competency, the same competency as adults taking a test. So that should tell you something. But again, in America, people are just too close-minded and too emotional about this subject to ever even debate it or consider it.
Right, right, absolutely. It's just nobody logically thinks about it. It just people are just emotional. Like we're going back to what we are saying earlier. What is the difference? How is it morally wrong to be sexually attracted to a 17-year-old, but then it's morally okay to be sexually attracted to an 18-year-old? Like what logic is behind this? You ask anybody, and they don't know. They just repeat, well, that's the law, that's the rules. It's like, well, wait a second. Well, what is the law? All the law is simply somebody made something up and then they said you obey this, or you're some type of like weird person if you don't obey the law. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is. But it's no moral, biological standpoint that anybody could use to support the authenticity of these statements. You know what I'm saying? And then here's another thing as well. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, how is it weird for a sexually mature human being to be attracted to another sexually mature human being? Right? We're not talking about people who are, pre-puberty, right? Those would be children. We're talking about
Mm-hmm.
human beings who are sexually mature. So it's just common knowledge that a human being who is sexually mature is going to be attracted to other human beings who are sexually mature. And it doesn't matter what law somebody makes up, that doesn't change human biology, right? Men are hardwired to be attracted to women, right? So when you see people, you're not IDing them for their age. You're just looking at them like, oh yeah, that person looks attractive to me, right? We're not IDing them. Are they above this age, right? And then these guys out here, it's like if you see somebody who's sexually attractive, who looks like a grown woman, then you find out she's, 16. Is she now not magically attractive anymore? And you see, this is how everyone thinks. It's not based on logic, reasoning, nor facts. Someone just made it up and said that's what it is. I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, if you look at biology, especially here in America, like they're pushing women. Oh, they tell women, oh, you're too young to have kids. You're too young to have kids. You're too young to have kids. But But the reality of it is, women have a biological clock. I don't know if people know this. Women get eggs. They get a certain amount of eggs, and their egg, they don't, women don't replenish their eggs like men replenish their sperm. So women have a certain amount of time. They have a way, way, way shorter window, and they have to, the younger they are, well, not too young, obviously, but when they hit puberty, when they're young, when they're like, 14, 13, 14, 15, they keep those eggs in them. So if they're like, let's just say they're like 30 years old, and she got her, let's say she hit puberty at 13, she has like 17-year-old eggs. And then you got to think, every time she has a period, she loses her eggs, because that's what periods are. There's eggs in those. It expels old eggs out, or unused eggs out of her. So obviously, men are going to find that the more fertile she is, the better chances of survival. It's just a basic, it's just it's a basic human function of all living things on this planet. I mean, sex is a basic thing, just like eating is. I mean, even animals have sex, insects have sex, trees have sex. It's all hardwired into, it's all basic instincts in all living creatures, are living things on this planet. It's just basic. It's eating and sleeping. It's just a basic form
Right. Let
of
me add something. Let me add something into what you're saying. Those are beautiful points you're making. Because as I say, we're just mentioning the facts, right? We're not telling anyone to do anything. We're just simply saying the facts for what they truly are. It's like, right, you can't restrict the human, actions, right? Human biology by making up rules. That would be like, let's say if someone made a law and said, well, it's a law that you cannot be 6 feet tall. Does that actually true? Will that actually make people to not grow to 6 feet tall? Of course it won't. If we say, well, if you're under, oh, I give this example. I believe it's in my book. I say, well, what happens if a senator's, grandmother, right, she had a stroke at say 80 years old? So what he says is, well, I declare it's a law that people cannot have a heart attack who are 80 years old. Is that going to actually change the fact that people who are that age are going to have heart attacks just because he said it's a law they can't? Of course it's not, because just by making things up and writing them on pieces of paper, that does not change human biology. That does not change how the real world actually works. And there's reasons why they have teen pregnancy at such a high rate. Why? Because they're actually young adults. So it's hardwired in them to have those sexual feelings. I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, and people make the argument too that, oh, well, people didn't live long then. And to a point, that is true, but it wasn't because of their biological age. People didn't live long not because of their age so much. People didn't live long because simple things could kill you. Like, for example, you step on a rusty nail, and depending how healthy you were, you could die from just stepping on a rusty nail. Or you get shot in the leg with a lead bullet. And before the Civil War, they didn't have any antiseptics, so you could die of gangrene and kill you. I mean, at any age you could have died. Um, the people just have all these crazy excuses. I mean, look, in Pennsylvania, there's tons of old cemeteries. I mean, you'd be surprised how long people lived. It was a lot more than you think. I mean, there's some like cemeteries from like the late 1700s, and I was shocked, even myself, how many people lived no longer than they live now. I mean, even in this day and age, with all the technology and stuff, people are only living to like 75, maybe 80 years old, and people are actually living a little bit longer then. I mean, just go to any old cemetery, you'll be surprised. It's crazy, and they're actually saying the life expectancy in America is actually dropping. People are actually living a lot lesser every year. So that's a crazy thing, and it's kind of believable, because one thing we have that we didn't have then is we had at least a healthier diet and healthier air compared to now. I mean, we're eating fast food and GMOs and all kinds of freaking junk, and then pharmaceuticals is poison, and pharmakia is sorcery. So It's just people just don't think. What do you have to say
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you, man. Here, I gotta check something real quick. So go ahead and talk for a minute or two. I'll be right back.
Yeah, man. As I said, I mean, why would God or nature? Let's just speak on first on the nature and evolutionary. As I said, why would nature or evolution, you know, give teenagers the rights to reproduction if they're mentally not able to do it? It's like having a truck with four big beefy wheels and a 4x4 and saying it can't go, it has no capabilities of going off road. I mean, it's just crazy, and it's just absurd that people think that way here in the United States. And believe it or not, around the whole world, you know, you could talk sensibly about this topic to people in America or Canada, any English speaking country. They're like, oh my God, there's something wrong with you. And it's just nonsense, man. It's just absolute nonsense. And that's why they're doing all the crazy, stupid stuff. That's why they're doing all the rebellious stuff. That's why, and they're doing all the wrong things. They're doing all the negative things, and it's crazy because America, it's so like you can't. It's like being looking at a woman or being sexual is wrong, but then they throw sex in your face all the time here. Like it's
Yeah, yeah.
just.
Let me jump in real quick on that, man. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's so backwards because here it is, that type of we see that all around us, right? That's all promoted all around us. But then, in the same, why they're putting all that out there to them, then they make it look like weird that they're all trying to engage in that type of activity. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like it makes no logical sense, but this is what they're doing, right? And then you have these, Christians out there, man. Like I'll give an example. I believe what's that guy? Um, Let me think of that guy's name real quick. TVC Mario, right? Everyone knows who that brother is. But
Mm-hmm.
he's on there talking about, oh well, God doesn't intend for them to act like that, right? They're all just, children. You know what I'm saying? And these are, so-called religious guys who,
Mm-hmm.
use the scriptures. I'll throw it back to you.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, when you say that, teenagers are teenage is a myth, and it's proven, and all kinds of studies to back it up. It's funny because when you say that teenagers do have the capabilities of functioning, they can be independent. They can go out on their own and keep themselves, and they can survive, and they can do all and reproduce, and people get all angry, and then they want to be like they care about, but it's they care about the children, the so-called teenagers here in America. But then it's funny because all the stuff, all the products they buy that they support, like Apple and stuff, they have in these third world countries, they have like not even teenagers, they actually have legit kids, like children, like 5, 6, 7, 8. They actually have legit children in sweatshops in horrible conditions, but yet they won't talk about that. They won't get as emotional about that stuff, but they want to
Yeah,
care about.
let me jump in real quick because I told this story before. I don't know if I said it online, but when I was getting my first job, right, I was 16, and it's a funny story because I was helping my friend, right, he was 14. I was helping him move into his new, house. So the manager of the place that came over because they were looking for two people to hire to do work around the area, right? So my friend was excited because he wanted to get a job, right? So long story short, the man ended up hiring me, right? But he wanted to hire my friend as well, but because he was 14, he wasn't able to hire him, right? So my friend was depressed for a couple, months because he had an opportunity to work, but the only reason he couldn't is because he was under an arbitrary number, right? He was mature, he was responsible and ready to work, but because he was under an arbitrary number, they wouldn't let him. So it just shows you, it's like, how is that just to restrict a human being from something just because they're not an age? And it's funny because for any other group of people, above this arbitrary 666, right, 18, that would be
Hmm.
considered to be oppression. That would be considered to be illegal to restrict somebody from something. But then because it's somebody who's under that arbitrary number, then it's because, oh well, it's all for their own safety or for their own good, no matter how mature or responsible they are. We don't even need to give them a choice. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, exactly, man. Yeah, it's crazy because wait, hold on. We have a troll in your group chat.
Yeah, yeah, I see him. I see that guy. Don't even pay attention to that guy. He came over from what was that? I was on with Two Letter J last night, so he came over from that guy's channel.
Yeah, that's it's gonna happen. YouTube got their troll patrol on.
Oh, and real quick, LOP, if you want to join, man, there's a link in the chat if you want to come on and add to the discussion. But we're gonna stay on topic though, so just keep that mindful in case you do want to join.
Yeah, man. I mean, mature maturity is not based on age. Maturity is based off experiences. That's the one thing people don't get. Um, People think when you hit a certain age that, oh, you're mature. Maturity comes from experience. That's what makes people mature, is through experience. And it's crazy because, like, in America, it's like they treat you like a child up. I mean, yeah, I mean, like at 16 and maybe 15, maybe some aspects 14, you can like start to work a little bit, and at 16 you can drive, but it's still not like you're still treated like a kid essentially. But it's crazy because they'll
Right.
treat you like a little ass kid up to you're like 18, and it's like boom, you're an adult. All right, you're on your own, and you had no
It's
experience prior to even being an adult or what an adult's like, truly like.
And the
They
real
just
question is
yeah.
what makes how does a person go from being a child one day, they go to sleep and they wake up and now they're somehow an adult? It's like, what is the science behind it? Nobody knows. It's just, well, that's the rules, right? So that proves it's true. It's like, okay, well, what if I declare it's a rule that oh, I don't know. Let's say that it is a rule that nobody can use vehicles. There's no logical reason behind it. It's you can own a car, but you can't drive around on Sundays, let's say. Nobody can drive on Sunday. There's no reason behind it. It just, well, that's the rules. You know what I'm saying? It makes no logical sense. But yet people will still use that as if that's evidence. I'll give an example. I remember a few years back, I was on a comment board, talking about this topic actually. And then somebody came up and said, because I asked him, well, where's the proof? But then he said, well, where the law is the proof, right? That the made up fabrication of reality is the proof that this is true. How would you respond to someone like that?
Well, it's crazy because people always come up with the same rinse, wash, repeat questions, and it gets tiring answering it because there's an answer that, like, people use the same cliche. Well, it's the law. Well, no, no crap. I know it's the law. Or they're not. When you say that they can be out on themselves, and people say, well, they're not mentally capable for that, or they're not physically or whatever capable of doing that, and it's like, well, in this modern society we live in, I don't think it's honestly mentally good or physically good for anybody in this world. Let's just to be honest. I mean, people are not made to live like this. Anybody ain't. So yes, it would be, but for everyone it would be. And I'm not talking about that. Um, I think people should just. I don't think there should be mortgages on houses or anything, but that's a whole nother can of worms. That's a whole nother topic. But what I'm saying is that when people say it's the law, it's like, yeah, I know it's the law, but and I'm not saying for you to break it. I'm just saying, just because it's law doesn't mean it's any moral. Laws doesn't mean it's moral, or excuse, or I'm getting jumbled up.
Yeah,
Just
I know
because
what you're saying.
just because something's illegal doesn't make it morally right or morally wrong. I mean, if you look back 200 years ago, there was a law that said black people were, this is crazy, but they weren't viewed as humans. They were viewed as farm equipment. They weren't even viewed as human beings. There was a law that they were slaves and not humans. And if they would run away, they would be arrested, like, or they could be considered stolen farm equipment. They weren't even called human beings. That was a law. Does that make it morally right? No. There was many laws that weren't right, but there were laws. So should we just follow it because it's a law? Because a bunch of old rich guys in three-piece suits wrote it, signed it on a piece of paper? Does that make it right?
Right, right. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any logical sense. And then here's another good question, another aspect to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
If a human being does not become an adult when they hit sexual maturity, the question is, well, what point after that do they just magically become an adult? I mean, it's like, how do we, after that, after sexual maturity, which is what makes a human being an adult from a child, right? But if we don't go by that, it's like, well, what do we go by? What magic day does it just somehow change? It just doesn't make any sense. Wait, what day do we just pick? Is it just something that's made up? Or how do we use science to say that, okay, when you're 20, you somehow now are not a child anymore, but a day before you were? There's no science to support this. It's just somebody made it
Well,
up. And that's
it's
true.
it's crazy because humans are the only living species on this planet that hit sexual maturity and are not considered or adults or grown. I mean, I've studied entomology, which is the study of insects, and I've read books about animals. Even I read all about humans, animals, and everything. And it's crazy because guess what they say about animals? Like, well, when they breed, they're adults, they're grown. So it's like, or same with now insects do have a nymph stage, but even in their nymph stage, they can't procreate. They have to be fully
Right, right.
adults to procreate.
So so I asked these Christians, right? I even asked
Mm-hmm.
Sakari this. It's like, okay, so did God make a world where kids give birth to other kids? And they were like, well, that's not a logical question to ask. It's like, well, wait a second. If these human beings are children, as you guys say, because Sakari calls them little ones, if you're under 20, you're considered to be a little one according to Sakari. It's like, okay, so why did God make little ones able to have other little ones? How does that make logical sense? Why would God give children sexual feelings, right? And sexual organs that work at 12, 13, 14 years old, if he did not intend for them to enact on those. It tells you in if you go to what is that, First Corinthians, the 7th chapter, it says it's better to marry than to burn, which the burning is talking about sexual frustration, right? So why would God give these quote unquote children these sexual feelings if he did not intend for them to engage in those feelings? You see, it just doesn't make any sense, right? And as we
Well,
said, every animal, go ahead.
well,
Hmm.
granted, we do live in a very overly sexualized society that it's constantly in your face. So obviously, people are going to be thinking about sex a lot more. But the fact of it is, even without that, people when their sexual reproductions are developed, they're going to think about having sex. Now, granted, maybe not. They're not going to be thinking it like today, like in the modern world,
Let
but they
me
are
let me
going
add
to.
something. Let
Yeah.
me just add something to that because it backs up your statement. I found this sexual content on the internet when I was young. I want to say about 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's a story for another time. But here's the point I bring this up. Is back then, even though I watched it, I didn't know a whole lot what's going on, but I didn't have any, sexual feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get one on, inside joke, but I didn't really do anything, right? I just watch it, like, oh, okay. I didn't have any, sexual, attraction towards, females in it or whatnot. But then around 12, that's when it all changes, right? Because now those feelings come in, right? Before they weren't there, but now they come in, right? So it just
I
shows you this is just God's design, right? This is how the Most High designed everything to work this way. I'll throw it back to you.
actually, hey, sorry, can I say something?
Yeah. Go
Hey,
ahead,
Go
man.
ahead.
yeah, actually, I had the similar experience as ETT because back in '90s when I was also about 9 years old, and I was in my friend's house, and he found some adult from his dad, some adult movie, and I didn't even understand anything of it. But you're right that like when at the age of probably 12 or 13, I would say you are starting to get really understanding or like attraction
Right.
to that thing, but actually when you first do it, then it hurts, you know what I mean, like at the age of 12. I'm not talking about the act itself, but I am talking about the, you know what I mean, right?
Right.
Hey, LP, I got a question. What country are you from?
I'm from Czech Republic, the Central Europe,
Oh, you're
south of
from.
Poland, west from Italy. Sorry, east from Germany, actually.
Okay. You still live in Czech Republic, right?
Yeah, sadly, so I hate this place, but what can I do? You know what I mean?
So
Yeah, I've been traveling all my life though. Like I've been everywhere, literally. Like not literally, but like all English speaking countries except Australia and yeah, I've been traveling since I was like 12. As I mentioned, I've been in England, many times, Scotland too. Uh,
let
what
me
what?
ask you a question. How, like a topic like this, how are the Czech people about this question? I know the Americans get like, you can't even talk to people like this, but how are like the Czech, what do the Czech people, how do they view this? Like, I want to know the differences. Like, what's it like over there, and what do they do? Like, what do they think? Are they more intellectual, or
Mm,
because Americans are? I mean, I don't know how it is in Czech. In fact, I don't know how it really truly is anywhere in the world except for America.
right.
But what is it like in Czech? Like, can people have intellectual? Because I know in America that's very far and few in between here in the
You mean
States.
like in regards to like the age of content is here and stuff like that, or uh,
Like, how do people feel about that? Like, what's their,
uh,
how do they view
um,
that?
I'm not.
Uh,
I don't really know. I mean, I know that like uh, you cannot get married. Of course, the laws are the same here as in the US. I think you cannot get married unless you're 18, right?
mhm.
But the age of consent, actually, the age when you can have sex is actually here. I believe it's 15 or 16. Might be 16 actually.
So
But
it's
yeah.
so
But
it's pretty similar to the United States in that regard.
yeah. I would say so. Yeah, and also I want to mention that my country, the Czech Republic, is the second most atheist country in the whole world after China. So that's
Wow,
an interesting thing too. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
crazy, man.
And
I mean,
another, what's interesting about that is also that we are in top 10 most peaceful country, or not peaceful, like least amount of crime. So that's interesting correlation when you have like in the most religious countries, you have like what, Philippines, Brazil, Mexico, and they are
mhm.
they have the most crimes, and they are the most religious. So I'm just saying, like Sweden too. Sweden is one of the most atheist, but it's not really, there's
I
not much
think
crime and stuff.
I think with Mexico, I don't. I heard a lot of people say it's like really, like the people are really like people are like really friendly down there. I don't think Mexico's like. I mean, everywhere's bad. I mean, U.S. freaking, don't even get me started on about the United States. But I think Mexico does have that cartel problem down there, which weirdly enough, the U.S. is behind that, the CIA and stuff. That's how the heroin stuff's getting over here. But again, that's another topic.
Oh,
But I think generally though, I think Mexico is weirdly enough as they like rated as like the people are really happy there. They did like a
oh,
like
okay.
happiness content,
Oh,
and they
that's
said,
yeah. I have some friend from Mexico. He seems quite happy, but then again, he's a rich guy, so probably from some cartel or whatever. you know.
I don't think you want to get into those gangs. Those gangs are pretty brutal.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, we
But
don't
yeah,
have these things here much, like cartels or mafia, whatever.
well, another thing too is Japan's pretty atheist as well,
Yeah.
surprisingly.
Well, yeah, but there's like more Buddhism or and other religions, but China is number one, obviously. Um,
Oh yeah, what the Light in this Dark World says, when I was in high school, my ex who was 16 dated an 18-year-old, and no one had a problem. When I bring it up, people had a problem with me about it. Yeah, it was weird. I was at this concert, and there was like this couple and some friends in front of me, and I guess the one dude was 18 and the girl was 16, and I guess he was, the friends were saying he was a creep and you guys shouldn't really be dating and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, I mean, it's just crazy here, and how it is here, man. It just, And the thing
It's
is,
unbelievable. But listen,
It
listen
is
here.
crazy.
I have to add this. I have to add this into it. People will look down on that, but then you got guys on here making jokes on the comment board talking about oh a 50-year-old man with a bad 18-year-old. Everyone can laugh at and say, oh well, she's just a a horny
and she
young
look
woman, right?
and she
But
and
but
they
but if she was magically a day under that, then this man would be hung from the nearest bridge. It's just absolute
yeah.
hypocrisy and self-contradictory, and
And,
nobody knows why they believe it. They just do because that's how they were all raised here in Babylon the Great. I'll throw it back
yeah,
to you.
and America definitely did start all this crap. This is where it definitely it all started. And then a lot of the reasons why you see like some of the European countries kind of having the similar ages is because America threatens them. Like, oh, we're not gonna if you don't do
Right, right.
that,
I have
just
to
like
add
they
this
yeah,
just to
because
go along with
yeah, because
what LOP is. Excuse me, to go along with what the brother's saying on here, and I'll throw it back to him in a minute, not to cut him off, but I have to say this. That yeah, this lines up with the holy book, right? Revelation 17 verse 18, it says what? That the woman that you've seen, that is that great city who reigns over the kings of the earth. That great city is America, and all these nations, right? Europe, right? All
yep.
these nations around the world, they all get this philosophy from
Mm-hmm.
America. Why? Because this is that place that reigns over the entire earth. All nations want to be like America. Why? Because America is that golden standard, right? That light on the hill, so to speak. So all these nations follow after these philosophies. Because right, going back to what we're saying, this belief in adolescence, this started here in America in the early 1900s, right? But now
Yep.
pretty much all these nations in the world, which of course not all of them, but a majority of them are
I
now
would say
following
I would
after this belief. Go ahead.
I would say a lot of the Western countries. I don't know about the so-called third world backwards countries. Like the West likes to boast itself. Like America thinks it's like the first world country when we're number one. And like look it up what America's number one, and it's crazy. Like we're the highest. America wants to say, oh, what we do is right, but it's like the highest mental illness, the highest unhealthiest people, the highest obese people. It's as high in everything bad, but America wants to prance around like it's this gold, like this greatest hero, and everyone should copy. And our laws are just and moral, but yet it's crazy because they'll call an older guy like I don't know, like he finds a 17-year-old attractive. They'll call him a pervert, the P word, but they're totally fine with two homosexuals or two women, two men together, which is unnatural, which there's no biological reason whatsoever for them to even be having sex, because they're not made for that, and that's how it's made for. People think it's totally fine that people can mutilate their genitals and turn them, like a man could be a woman and a woman could be a man. That's perfectly fine. No one gets all emotional angry about that. But God forbid they'll get angry at God that does that. I mean, it's just terrible. Like it's just mind-blowingly how dumb people are. Like
And
just
here's the
But
main kicker. Here's the main kicker.
am I
Is
wrong
if
or
you even
am I right? Am I wrong or am
Yeah,
I right?
you're absolutely right, man. But just to add to what you're saying, it's like, I mean, how is it wrong for a sexually mature human being to be attracted to another sexually mature human being? And here's another thing as well. If you go to Ezekiel the 16th chapter, we all should know what that is. But the Lord's
Mm-hmm.
comparing Israel to a little girl growing up to becoming a woman. Now, if you read that according to America's logic, well, then they have to say that the Most High is a perverted person. Then so you
that
know what I'm
that
saying?
chapter is really crazy. I remember that chapter. It's with the Assyrian, right, and Jerusalem, and yeah, it's comparing. Yeah, that's a crazy chapter. Do you know that verse when it says like she went unto the Assyrian whose flesh was like the flesh of horses, no, like
Oh, that
flesh of
I don't think
asses,
that's
and
I don't think that's the
and
same one I'm talking
issue.
about.
Oh, that's
I don't
18.
think that's the
Sorry,
same.
I guess that's Ezekiel 18. Sorry, yeah, sorry,
Yeah,
man.
that's all right.
I got it
That's
mixed
okay.
up. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's cool, man.
No, but
Yeah,
that
man.
But
chapter
going
was like
back,
about about comparing like Jerusalem to promiscuous woman, sort of. Yeah.
right, it was comparing Jerusalem to a little girl growing up into a woman. Because if you read it, it says what your breasts they have fashion and your hair has grown. Wait, what hair is that talking about? That's talking about pubic hair. Now I know it's not literal. It's a metaphor. It's just a a parable, but the point of the matter is still clear that the Lord's comparing it unto a girl becoming a woman, right? So then if you read the chapter, it says what? That when she, had those things, right? When her pubic hair came in, her breast grew, it says then that was the time of love, right? So that clearly shows you that it's talking about when a woman hits sexual maturity. And anyone can read that for themselves. Like Sakari, they'll read that and say, oh, well, that's talking about, a fully grown woman right there. And this is what these guys are, man. A lot of these guys are just conformed to this Western doctrine. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's unbelievable, right? Sakari, they'll just deny history and say, well, I mean, to even, ask these questions, these are like, pretty weird to even ask these type of questions. That's what they're on there saying.
What's that? What's that, dude?
Oh, it's my
I
car.
think,
Oh,
yeah.
your car. I thought so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me
Nice.
say this real quick, guys. I'm gonna go for a little bit longer. I do have to eat. But then later tonight, I think I'm gonna come back on to do another show because I do want to go longer. So if you guys are still up in about, let's say, 2 hours from now, do you guys want to come back on and we can continue the conversation then?
I'll probably be in bed by then.
I mean,
Okay.
it's gonna be 4 a.m. but in 2 hours, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna be still up. But yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool, guys. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna come back on to do another stream tonight, but I'll figure it out.
I mean,
I'm gonna go for another 10 minutes.
Okay, well, I want to make another point quick is that I think the big reason is I think the age of consent also creates whoredom, because,
Right.
as guys take a while to, guys ain't like women. There's a saying that goes, women are born and men are made. Men, it takes like for a man to be like wise and know what he's doing and how to maneuver in life and how to, protect his family. He has to gain experience and he has to build himself. Men are like, we have to build ourselves. And, I think, as men get older, men get more wiser and they build up a lot more resources or just experience and stuff. And I think when they have it at 18, well, what they do is first of all, they're throwing all this sex culture to to teenagers, obviously, and even everybody. But the problem with that is they throw them in this public indoctrination camp known as school, where it's just people around their age. And what it does is she's messing around with guys her age that just want to pump and dump. And now she's getting all these guys, she's getting all their DNA. And by the time you legally can get her, she's already been ran through. I mean, you could still find an 18-year-old virgin, but the chances of that are very slim. I mean, most women are not virgins by the time you could so-called legally get them. It
was not the case with my wife. I mean, she was like 30. What was she like? 2014. She was like 30. Wait, no, 2000. Yeah, she was like 35, and she was still a virgin. So.
Well, again, I'm not saying older women can't be virgins, but
it's not common. Yeah,
it's not as common as with younger women. It's just not. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying there ain't a few, here and there that are, and I'm not saying that you can't find one, but it's going to be very, very, very tough if a man wants a virgin. And I think, I mean, do you agree with me, ETT? I think that's another big agenda behind that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I definitely do.
And then by the time the girls,
that, definitely.
Yeah, because by the time they head into the real world, quote unquote, they're messed up. And there's actually a real scientific term. It's called microchimerism. Look it up. It's where a woman gets, if she keeps the DNA of the males she slept with, essentially. So all that, but it's okay because it's boys her age. Apparently that don't count. But it's okay. So she still can't get pregnant. She still has the potential for all those things to happen to her. But you're okay. You're okay with, as long as it's guys her age just pumping and dumping her. You're fine with that. Okay, makes sense. I mean, it's just. I mean, what do you guys feel about that?
I'm not sure, man. Like, yeah, You know, I
Yeah,
haven't.
I hear you,
Are
man.
you? What? Can I ask you a question? What about like you? Are you married? You are 29,
No, I'm
or?
not married.
Oh, okay, okay.
But
Hey, I had to add this in there, man. These guys are always on there, coming at GMS, for getting on this topic, but it's like, here it is. They're here worried about GMS, but these guys are sending their dollars to school, man. Right, with all these, younger men going through, the sexual, feelings as well. So, hey, look, man, their dollars are really getting bent over six ways to Sunday in these schools, and that's all that's going on out here, right? The girls are getting, bent over in the bathroom, right, six ways to Sunday. That's just what's going on. And you know why they're
that,
like that? Because that's just the way their bodies were designed, is to not sit in a classroom for 8 hours a day and not to, indulge in sexual activities. That's the way that their body was designed, is to
but
have those
but
feelings and to
but that's
engage
what
in it. I'll throw it back to you.
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like they're basically doing all screwed up stuff. They're out partying. They're out being debaucherous, and with the school life because they have really no response, very little if any responsibilities. So they have all this time to do bad things, and of course they're going to do stupid crap. They have no responsibility. They have no experience. They have none of that stuff. Of course, then they're going to do all kinds of screwed up stuff. That's what they're going to do.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's
And then
all
they wonder.
because of, as it's all because of the way they were all raised, right? If they did have the opportunity to, better themselves, right, to work, at a younger age, to, do things on their own, they won't be going around doing all of these, things, these messed up things they're doing. And if they were encouraged to get in a relationship, when they're
Mhm.
younger, they wouldn't be all, messed up like the way it is right now. So as you were saying, it definitely, is a agenda, right? It most certainly is. But anyway, I am going to be closing up in 5 minutes here, so I did just want to talk about, Teen 2.0 real quick, just so we can touch on that. For anybody listening, Teen 2.0 is a book by a man named Robert Epstein, and basically it goes over, what we're speaking about here. You can look it up on Amazon, and you can purchase the book. I've actually just previously finished it myself within the last 2 weeks here. I finished the book. It's a very good book, right? Much great information is
It's
in that book there. So everybody should certainly go give that a read.
uh,
You want to say anything about it?
well, yeah, it's a very good book, but I just want to give you an example how petty people are. Like they see, the Teen 2.0 book, they see like Epstein in it. Like I've had a few people like, oh, Epstein, oh my God. Like, no, not that
Oh, I
one.
had someone do that.
Not
Or
that one.
like that Jeffrey.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
Jeff. No, not him. No, no. I mean,
Isn't it pronounced Epstein, not Epstein? No, I wasn't sure.
that guy, Jeff Epstein that was he was a scumbag. He was a
Yeah, yeah,
Zionist.
yeah.
He was
I
a
know.
Zionist elite scumbag. And, what he was doing to women wasn't right. But yeah, but it's not, the book is not, he's not like in anything. And people are like, oh my God, they see the word Epstein and it's like, oh my God. And they see,
Right, it's a
it's like,
different person.
I mean,
it's
it's a common name, probably.
It
You
is.
know.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay, so if someone's named Dahmer and he writes a book, I mean, is he a murderer or something? Like, people are
Yeah,
really
like
that.
Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah.
Like, people will use anything just to justify their idiocy, their idiocracy, man. I mean, people will just try to find anything to prove something, and it's even wrong. Even that, it's wrong. But it is what it is. But yeah, man, it's a good
Yeah,
book. It is. It's a
yeah,
good book.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody, who's listening, just look that book up. I would definitely recommend, purchasing that book. It's a very good read. Also, for anyone new, I do have a playlist on my channel. It's called what is it, Teenage Myth or something like that. There's like 200 videos on there. Give that a watch. Very educational. But anyway, guys, I thank you for coming on here with me tonight.
And
Definitely we're gonna do it again to bring out more
y-
information, in the near
yeah, I
future.
mean, sorry, man. LP, if you'd want to come on and do a live stream again, if you'd want to do that sometime.
About some other topic, or
Uh,
because I'll be up for it. Yeah. but probably some other topic, because you can only talk so much about this kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah, and
You know?
yeah. I mean, it would be about other things too. I mean, it ain't
Sure,
just
sure. I would be, I would be up for it. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it is a very contentious topic. This topic, what we're talking about, a lot of people are afraid to speak about it because of
Right.
the backlash,
Right.
and it
Right.
is
But
a
I wanted to say one thing. Like you were insinuating something like like it's not creepy if like a 50 or 60-year-old guy has a 18-year-old girl. Like it is kind of creepy. Like why would you say it's not? Or
what do you mean?
no. I mean, I get what you're saying, that the other things are much worse, like like changing your the trans whatever, but this is also creepy, like the old guy having a very, very young girl. That's creepy,
Hey, hold on a
isn't it?
sec. Hold on a sec. I have to add something on here. If you go to the book of First Kings chapter 1 and start at verse 1 and read down, it says what? That King David was on his deathbed. But what they did is they brought King David a very young woman. Right? Who calls her a virgin, right? A damsel.
Yeah, but he
So
didn't sleep
King
with her
David
though.
was on his deathbed, right? But they brought him a beautiful young virgin, right? So you consider that to be creepy?
No, yeah, but he didn't. King David didn't
He didn't
have
because
sexual.
he couldn't
Yeah.
get hold on. He couldn't get an erection if you read the story. He couldn't get it up because he was on his deathbed. They brought him a woman to see if he could still get heat from it, right? Get an erection, but he couldn't because he was on his way out, right? He was almost dead. So he didn't. It wasn't because she was too young, but it was rather because he was on his deathbed and he couldn't, you know, get heat from it, if you read it,
I
right? He couldn't
here,
get one up.
here's my take on it. I think there's a reason why men don't hit menopause. Men can pretty much procreate till the day we die, and men are creators. Men create life, and a lot of people think that's weird and creepy, but at the same time, who am I to judge if it works out? And they're both happy. Who am I to say it? There's nothing unnatural about it. I mean, it's perfectly biologically, in a biological way. It makes perfect sense. Um, Again, I mean, to some people it might be bad, but I don't think people should stop it. I think it's actually natural. But people are okay with tranny couples and all that stuff, and people let that slide, and that's unnatural as hell. And
Yeah,
there's
that's worse for sure. Yeah.
Right,
as I
right.
said, I mean,
Yeah.
you can think it's uncomfortable, but at the end of the day, he's doing nothing wrong. Biologically and natural law, he's doing nothing wrong. They're both
Yeah, I
doing
mean, if
nothing
the
wrong.
girl, if the girl likes like him, like an
Hmm.
older dude, that I guess that's fine. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
who
again,
am I to judge? Or
yeah. I mean, on a as I said, on a biological and natural law and an instinctive level, that's normal. He's not going off. But at the end of the day, that's normal. That's biologically normal in all that sense. As I said, people people allow stranger things to happen, man. I mean, people are more okay with like people banging animals and crapping on each other and having tranny couples, but yet they see like a 50-year-old with an 18, let's just say an 18-year-old, and they think that's creepy, but they'll just like walk by and go, love is love, when they see a tranny. But a 50-year-old goes out with an 8-year-old, oh my god, that's preposterous, that's creepy. And it's like, I mean, yeah, he's older. I mean, but it's not, if you really think about it, and it's not really creepy. It's biologically normal. Guys always have that urge to create. We're creators. We give the seed of
Right.
life. So on that aspect, yes, there's nothing wrong with it. So,
Right, right.
But
But
it
yeah,
could be like a
as I
confusion.
said,
Sorry.
we all pretty much, can see on that. Okay, but anyway, I do have to get going here because my food has arrived. I got to pick out what's the word I'm looking for? Ordered out somewhere tonight. I got to go eat real
all
quick. But
right, man.
in an hour, I'm gonna come back and do a show because I do want to go for longer, but I do have to go eat real quick. So if any of you are still on, and anyone in the audience watching right now, if anyone's still around in an hour from right now, you're welcome to come back on, and we can continue the discussion on another stream. So yeah, I thank you guys for coming by, to talk tonight. I enjoyed, the discussion.
Yeah, man. Anytime, and it was great talking to you and LP, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I might still come back. Actually, I might watch one episode of Nikita and come back in 1 hour. Who knows?
All right, sounds
All
good,
right,
guys. That
all right.
sounds good. But anyway,
All right, man.
Take care now, man.
thanks for stopping by, man.
All right. See you later, man.
See you, man.
All right, see you around, man.
Bye.
Okay. All right, guys. Oh, ironically enough, everyone literally exited the room at literally 1 hour and 10 minutes on the dot, ironically enough. I was gonna go for a little longer, but I do have to go eat real quick because my food just arrived here. I ordered food out tonight. So it is here. So I gotta go eat. I'm gonna likely come back in an hour to do another show. So if anybody who is watching now is still conscious, right, still awake in the next hour, you're welcome to come back on and we can discuss whatever. But anyway, I'm gonna say shalom.